Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. The hangover's past, the celebrations are over for now. There could be more come Saturday. Let's hope there is, but let's reflect on what has been another incredibly successful season for Celtic. 2 in a row, back-to-back champions. We never stop. Hello, like and subscribe if you haven't already. It would be much appreciated. It's that time of the year again. We're going to sit down and we're going to react to the things that I said at the start of the season. We're going to look back on my predictions from, I think it was just a few days before the first ball was kicked. And we're going to see how well I done this year. Not so much. I got the big one right. I got what matters most right. You know, who win the league, Celtic, as I predicted. And we'll come on to that. But everything else, I just want to quickly look over. Because it's not very often on this channel that I get to sit and talk about the rest of the league in general. You know, it's mostly Celtic orientated, as we all know. So today I'm going to look through the entirety of the Scottish Premiership season. I'm going to see what I got right and what I got wrong. And as usual, I got more wrong than right. Now, I know that some of you might be waiting for a reaction to Saturday's game and the trophy lift in general, but what is there to say that hasn't already been said over the course of this campaign? We have been magnificent. We are well and truly deserving of that trophy being back in Celtic Park. And in regards to the game, great, we're back, and we'll talk about it more as the week goes on, leading into that game against Inverness on Saturday. But we may as well just take our attention away from it for now, and let's look at the bigger picture. Before we proceed, by the way, it is a stunning, gorgeous day here in Glasgow. 19 degrees outside. This loft is like a furnace. And I can't keep the air conditioning on while I record, or that's all you'll hear. So if you see sweat dribbling down me as the video goes on, please just ignore it. Forgive me. So let's start with the bottom half of the table, and the way we're going to do this is we're going to talk about the teams in order of where I predicted them to finish rather than where they actually finished. So we'll come on to talking about the side who was actually relegated towards the end of the video, because that was a silly prediction. But the bottom half, as you'll see on screen, a lot of teams outdoing what my expectations of them were this season, and I'm just glad I'm not getting the Bournemouth treatment. I'm just glad I'm not being clipped by teams' social media. I'm putting ideas into their head now. I'm glad I'm not being clipped for getting so many wrong, because as you'll see here, the teams that I have in the bottom half of the table, only one of them done worse off than what I predicted, and everybody else seemed to have an alright season considering where the expectations were. Now, one thing I do want to point out before we talk about the teams individually here, I think that at the start of the season, my predictions, just like many people's predictions, weren't exactly, you know, they weren't outlandish. They weren't a far cry. I look at Motherwell here, for example, who I thought was actually being generous to at the time by putting them 11th. I thought that they could have went down this season just with the way they were at going into the campaign, and the managerial situation I disagreed with. But obviously things changed. They made a managerial change. You can't predict these things coming. So when I make these predictions at the start of the season, it's with everything being in mind that I can't read the future, and I don't know who's going to be manager or who's going to be playing for them come the end of a campaign. So yeah, we'll come on to it all, but let's go. Let's start. St Johnstone for 12 I had, and I think that everybody had St Johnstone to be relegated this season. I think that they were the favourites in the eyes of the fans and the bookies to go down this year. There was just not a lot of hope for them going into this campaign, but yet finishing 9th in the table. Yeah, they were dancing round the relegation zone for the majority of the season, but I think if you were a St Johnstone fan and you were offered 9th and safety of the Premiership this season, you would have took it. You'd have bit the hand off for it. Obviously, St Johnstone had to make a big call through the season. They had to sack Callum Davidson, the man who won them a cup double in one season. And that's not an easy decision to make, but it was beyond rescue at St Johnstone, and they had to make the change, and I think that change is probably one of the reasons that they've managed to keep their status as a Premiership side. So I did have them for bottom. They've stayed up. Motherwell, who I had in for the playoff spots, they've also comfortably stayed up. They were the best of the bottom half. They finished 7th this season, and as always, the team that finished 7th has more points than the team that finished 6th. It's how it always goes in Scotland. But they'll be kicking themselves. They'll be annoyed that they probably didn't get that top half, and that probably comes down to how poor their start this season. Obviously, they were another side who made a big managerial change. They got Kettlewell in, and that proved to be a very smart decision. They had to do that. And when I looked at them last season at the end of the 21-22 campaign, and I looked at them making the decision to make Stevie Hamill the manager, I was very confused and just very worried for them. And I didn't look at it as a side with a lot of depth and quality, but one man who shone for them, and the guy that they should thank for the season that they've had, Kevin Van Veen. Wow, what a player, what a striker. Unlucky not to be the top scorer in the league, but he deserves all the plaudits, he deserves his flowers for having an amazing season, and he's somebody that Motherwell really just need to keep around and just hope that he keeps doing that. You know, we don't want to see him drop off form. He keeps scoring those goals. It's mad because it could be a top half side again next year, who knows. But yeah, 4 places higher than what I had them predicted, so Motherwell fans will be loving that from me. Livingston I had at 10th, and once again, David Martindale, maybe not living up to the same standards this season as he's set in prior campaigns, but Martindale once again doing what is just always exceptional for a side like Livingston, and that's staying in this division. They really don't have any right to be in the Premiership and competing in the Premiership the way that they do, but year after year, Martindale and his always changing squad seem to be just a real form in the side for a lot of sides. This campaign, maybe not as good as I said as previous, but to finish 8th place, that's a good campaign, because this is a team that I think everybody's just patiently waiting for the wheels to fall off. And yeah, they might have not been top half this year, but the wheels certainly haven't fell off. So yeah, Livingston, and once again a good position. David Martindale, loved by the Livy fans, and I don't see them going down anytime soon. The only thing is with Livingston is, as I've kind of mentioned, they go through that roundabout of change. There's no really anything they can do to keep and maintain the same squad year upon year. They're financially miles behind a lot of the teams in this league, so just need to wait and see if Martindale works more miracles next season, but they are still in the division, and that's huge. And then the one in the bottom half, who I think that I got wrong the most this year, St Mirren. And not just because of the place that I had them predicted, but for what I said about them. And St Mirren's always a team that, I mean, if you go back and watch my predictions year after year, I've always kind of been kind to St Mirren. I always feel like they can do something right, but I didn't have a lot of faith in them with Stephen Robinson being the manager. I just thought it was going to be too negative. I just didn't see it working out, and I didn't look at the side as one that would cause a lot of problems. And yet here we are looking at St Mirren as the team who caused Celtic the most problems this season. Fair play to Stephen Robinson, a Manager of the Year nominee, and fair play to the St Mirren side who got a top half finish. And I don't think a lot of people expected them to get top half finish this year, but they did. So I had them predicted for, where did I have them predicted? I had them predicted for 9th. They ended up finishing 6th. They tried fighting to the very, very end for that top 5 and a crack at Europe. Just slipped a little bit short, just fell short a little bit. But some big performances from them this year caused Celtic issues. For a long time, they were the only team who'd beat us domestically. And I thought that was something that was going to stand to the end of the season. So they deserve some recognition for that. But yeah, comfortable for them in that top half this year. 8th, I had Ross County, the only team in my bottom half predictions who actually done worse than what I predicted. And I should have seen it coming. I think this one was a bit silly looking at it with hindsight, and I think I was resting a lot of that expectation on the managerial capabilities of Malky Mackay. Now, say what you like about Malky Mackay, and we all know that he's a bit of a wanker. The thing is, he's a good coach, he's a good manager, and I thought that would have maybe guided him a little bit higher this year, but obviously really hard to adapt to life without Regan Charles Cook and another couple of the guys. They turned out to be bigger losses than I thought they would have been originally, and they really did struggle. They could have went down, and they still could go down. There's no guarantee that they will be in the Premiership next season. Will they beat Partick Thistle? I don't know. I have a feeling Partick Thistle might do it. But I should have seen this coming. I think this one was a bit silly from me. And Ross County are a side who obviously need to inject new life into their side. And finally, to round out the bottom half, my bottom half predictions, I had Hibs in at 7th. And fair play to Hibs. I didn't expect them to do terribly bad this year, but I just thought that things would have... Well, life under Lee Johnson I thought was going to be more tricky than what it proved to be. And do you know what? by all accounts, I was right, because it's been such a strange season for Hibs. Started off really weird, and then they went into some cracking form, then they fell away again, and then it ended off decent. You know, it was really weird. Hibs probably the most inconsistent side in the top half this year. But I think they've got good foundations for something promising with Lee Johnson. It just depends how patient the fans and such are. Obviously, they want to be in that third place. That's the battle in this country, beyond Celtic and Rangers. Who's the best of the rest? And Hibs want to be leading that charge. Are they on the right track to be better than Hearts next year? Absolutely. Hearts have uncertainty around them. Hibs have probably a little more certainty around them. So, who knows? Maybe they keep building, they can do it. But that was my bottom half predictions. A lot of people proving me a dafty. Into the top half. And let's start with this is where I've gubbed it the most. My top half predictions. Christ, here we go. Kelly, I had it 6th. Why was I so confident that they would come right back into the Premiership and dart right into the top half straight away? Why did I think that? I think Derek McInnes is the reason. I think that I've looked at Derek McInnes and I went, obviously very successful with Aberdeen, constant third place finishes, cup success, good coach, one of the best in the league, and I was like, he'll come up with what looked to be on paper a promising side, and I thought that they would do well, and they didn't. I was way off. I said 6th, they finished 10th. They were once again a side who were dancing around the possibility of relegation throughout the whole season. But Kelly's a side that need improvement. They need players on that side. They're lucky they've got a coach like McInnes, but they need to give them the players to work with. They've just not got it right now. Every time Celtic played them this season, you know, you could just see that there was still a kind of, I don't want to use the word gulf, but I think there's still a stretch between them and you know, being a top half side anyway. So yeah, I was way off with Kelly. Don't know why, but they're still in the division. They've still got their place for next year. They've stayed up, and I guess on paper, if you offered Kelly fans survival this year in their first year back, they would have took it. I don't know. If you're a Kelly fan, let me know, but I know I would have if I was a Kelly fan. 5th, I had Aberdeen, and they ended up finishing 3rd. They were the best of the rest this season. Fair play, Barry Robson, who has quickly emerged as one of the most exciting managerial prospects in this country. I really like him, and I think he's got a big future with Aberdeen and beyond. Invest next year and they'll finish 3rd again. I think that they've got something special with Barry Robson. I've always been, you know me, I've said it time and time again, I'm very against, if you listen to Talk Scottish Football at any point, I'm very against teams just hiring their caretaker. You know, I always think it's lazy, and I think in the long run it ends up not working out. Sometimes it does work out. A lot of times it doesn't, because it's lazy. It's like Celtic, hiring Lenny in the showers. But Barry Robson genuinely strikes me as a good coach, a good character, and someone who's going to take Aberdeen far. He's already started off really well. An inspired decision to bring him in as the full-time coach. He deserved it. He's done well. And if they didn't do it, they wouldn't have finished 3rd. They wouldn't have. But they made the right decision to make the change when they did. And it had to be done. So yeah, I think the future's bright for Aberdeen. You'll be loving it just now. Obviously some cracking players, good seasons for the likes of Duke Miofsky. There's some good young talent in amongst that squad as well. You know, I just think that the trajectory is looking good for Aberdeen at this moment in time. I know that Celtic battered them on Saturday, but Trophy Day at Celtic Park is something else. So yeah, but fair play to them. I think that 5th wasn't a bad shout at the start of the season. I did think they'd get their act together and get back into the top half. But yeah, wow. 4th, I got right. I got bang on. Hearts, spot on. I didn't see them finishing 3rd again. The team that I did see finishing 3rd, we'll talk about in a moment. But I didn't see them finishing 3rd again. I just had a feeling that things would kind of peter away with Robbie Neilson, and that it did. Robbie Neilson no longer with us, gone, cheerio. He's not dead, but he's no longer a Hearts manager. Hearts need to be careful this summer. Is Stephen Naismith the right man for the job? He's had some good results. Could it be very Barry Robson-esque, or can it go the other way? They need to evaluate their options. They need to make sure they're doing the best thing for them if they want to be the 3rd best team in this country. Right now, they're not the 3rd best team in this country. And next year, I could see Hibs being above them in the table. As it stands, big summer to go. But they've got to make decisions. I knew their time as 3rd was coming. Or coming to an end, I should say. Sometimes I get it right. Let's talk about 3rd. Dundee United. Wow. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say this is the worst prediction I've ever made on YouTube. Ever. And I said Celtic would win the league in 2021. Dundee United for third. They finished rock bottom. They'll be in the Championship next season. And, yeah. What happened? What? And this is the thing. You can slag me all you like for getting it way off. But the expectations were high for Dundee United going into this campaign. I have no idea what went wrong. And I think the Championship is what they need right now. I think it's actually, in the long run, going to do them a world of good going down. If they stayed up, if they pipped Ross County to 11th and they won in the playoffs and they stayed up, I think it could have been even worse for them next year. I think they needed this reset. Jim Goodwin basically got this kind of free hit. He's obviously been given a contract extension. He'll stay. He'll bring them back up. And then he can go for it. Clean slate, fresh start. I think he needed that. And I think he needs that confidence build on the Championship next year. Look, there's no guarantee they'll come right back up. The last time they went down, they were there for years. There's no guarantee they're coming right back up. But I'm pretty certain they will. Thing is, there's some crank players in there. Obviously, we spoke about Dylan Levitt so much when he signed for them permanently. And they just... What? I don't get it. Jack Ross looked to be a great option. Started that campaign so brightly with a win over Alkmaar. And then the next leg happened. And it just, the confidence was gone from there. Celtic battered them 9-0. The wheels just well and truly fell off. I think that when they hired Liam Fox as manager was the wrong decision, evidently. And obviously now they've landed in the position where they've got Jim Goodwin, who wasn't an option at first, but I think if he was there the whole season, they might have stayed up. Who knows? They're down. They're gone. Down. Dundee United's gone down. And they better hope it's not like the last time. And finally, the top of the table, the part that matters most, it was Celtic and Rangers. I predicted Celtic to win the league. They were obviously going to win the league. They did win the league. 99 points. Incredibly fun campaign. 32 wins out of 38. Whew. Wow, what a season. And look, listen, people, Rangers fans will be clicking on to hear what I'm saying about Rangers. 92 points. Any other year, you're potentially winning the league with that. But don't let anything fool you, because Celtic are just unbelievable. And we'll keep winning league title after league title as long as Ange Postecoglou is here. I'm confident of that. But, wow, another great campaign. There was never in doubt. Look, I came on here at the start of the year and I said Celtic will win the league. I didn't hide it. And I think I was probably, but off camera, I was a lot more bullish than what I was on camera. Just because you always want to make sure it doesn't come and slap you in the face, right? But Celtic are miles ahead of Rangers at the minute. And that's fact. It's reality. You know, there's a potential treble coming in the door. I know that Rangers were off the back of a European final, but Gio didn't look the part to me. He really didn't. That was seen. He was sacked. They've now got Beale in. There's a big summer ahead for Rangers. As it stands, Celtic will win the league again next year. I'm confident of that. We're just so good. So good. And you go back to that first derby game of the season. The league was won there. 4-0 at Celtic Park. You don't come back for that. You don't. And I just knew it straight away that we were going to be champions that day. We were just firing on all cylinders. Our recruitment was bang on, even with big changes in the January window. We seen Juranovic and Giacomakis leave. It didn't derail us. We got better. Honestly, what a season. And I'd be lying if I was putting it any other way. Fair play, Rangers got some big wins, some good results, but there was a lot of the time, they like, people will say, like, Rangers only lost one more game in Celtic. But there's a lot of times Rangers got lucky. They kind of petered their way through points of the season. And let's not forget how bad they were before Beale came in. And even when Beale first started, they still weren't a great side. So there's a long way to go for Rangers. If they recruit well in the summer, I think that there will be a good challenge next year. I think that we'll see maybe it run a bit closer. Maybe Celtic won't be 9 points clear come November. League was done. But we need to see the evidence of that. Right now, Celtic are just so well run on and off the park. And there's a potential treble coming through the door. Now, I knew we'd win the league, but I didn't think we'd win a treble this year. And here we are. There's a chance of it on Saturday. Big chance of it. and it's one that we should be taking. So a fantastic season for Celtic, buzzing with that. 3 out of 12. I got 3 out of 12 this year. What a piss awful performance. I think the air pressure is significantly dropping in this off, so I'm going to wrap it up. I'm passing away here. But yeah, great campaign for Celtic. Listen, what I will say is, and I hate doing it, and I hate being negative, but I said it so many times in Talk Scottish Football, and I'm going to just say it again to wrap this up. The quality of Scottish football this year was really bad. It was. Celtic, unbelievable, and I'm not expecting teams to be beating Celtic or challenging us week in, week out, but I just look around the rest of the league right now, and I'm like, the standard's got to get better. It really does. But Celtic, love life, brilliant, fantastic. Get in there. Champions again. Hail, hail.